Hi everybody and welcome to Rocco Baby Crochet. A massive warm welcome back to all my regular viewers and subscribers. It's lovely to see you again and thank you for supporting the channel. A massive warm welcome to anybody who's just found the channel for the first time. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Stick around and consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on my next free pattern or tutorial, and it also supports Rocco Baby Crochet as well. Today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to do the beautiful box stitch. Now I absolutely love this stitch. It creates such a beautiful texture. I've worked my sample piece up here for you in 3 colours. It looks beautiful as a solid colour or as many colours as you want to. For my sample I've worked it up in double knit yarn, and I've also, when I did my colour changes, fastened off and secured the ends of each colour change. For this tutorial I'm just going to be carrying my ends up. Now I would only recommend you doing this if you're going to add a border onto your work. If you're not going to be adding a border, then I would fasten off and secure at each colour change using your preferred method. Now this may be a little bit of a long tutorial. The box stitch is an 8-row repeat, but it's absolutely worth it. I think it creates such a unique texture and a beautiful pattern. Once you've got in the flow with it, it's not a complicated stitch to learn, but like I said, it is an 8-row repeat, so bear with me with this one. So this tutorial is all going to be time stamped for you, just to make it easy for you to click backwards and forwards between the rows as you go along. For the tutorial today I'm going to be using a chunky yarn just so things are a little bit easier for you to see. I'll leave the names and colours of all the yarns that I use in the description to this video, and also this tutorial is just about breaking down the box stitch. It's not about learning the individual stitches that the box stitch is comprised of. If you do need support in learning the stitches to make the box stitch, then I'll leave the links to those tutorials in the description of this tutorial, so please feel free to go and have a look at them, have a little practice of the stitches, and then come back to us when you feel ready to make the box stitch. All you'll need for this is your chosen yarn and the recommended hook for that yarn. So grab your hooks, grab your yarn, grab a cuppa, and let's learn this beautiful stitch together. So because the box stitch is worked in rows, we're going to need to start off by making a slip knot and popping that onto our hook. The foundation chain for the box stitch is any multiple of 10 plus 2. So I'm just going to do a really small sample here and I'm going to chain 42, but you're going to want your foundation chain to be the width that you want your project at in multiples of 10 plus 2. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 42. So if you want to make your foundation chain, press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to row 1 and we can do that together. I've just finished my foundation chain of 42, and for row 1 we're going to start in the second chain from the hook. Now it's up to you, wherever you feel most comfortable, where you prefer to start working in your foundation chain. You can work from the front here in the second chain along, or if like me you prefer to work into the back bumps, just turn your chain over and you can work into the back bumps. The back bumps are just the bumps that run down the center of every chain, and each bump is a chain. So starting in your second chain from the hook, you're going to want to place a double crochet, and then we're going to skip 4 chains, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th one along we're going to place a shell. So the shell for the box stitch is 5 treble crochets, a chain 1, and then 5 more treble crochets. So let's make our first one. So yarning over, inserting your hook into that 5th chain along, yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. When I am making my shells on this first row, I find it helpful if I just keep hold of the next chain along, because sometimes when we're making these shells it can pull the foundation chain tighter and it can be more difficult to spot this next chain. So I tend to place my thumb on it just to secure it so it doesn't disappear. So there's my first treble crochet and I need 4 more, so 5 in total. So there's 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, and then you'll want to chain 1, and then going back into the same chain we're going to place 5 more treble crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. So that's your first shell made, and it should look a little bit like that for you. Next, what we want to do is we're going to skip 4 more chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and into this 5th one we're going to place a double crochet. And we're just going to do that all the way along. So we'll skip another 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th one along we'll place another shell. So the shell is 5 treble crochets, a chain 1, and then 5 more treble crochets all into the same chain. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, and then 5 more treble crochets to complete that shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you want to make your way all the way across for row 1. So next you will skip 4 chains and into the 5th one place another double crochet. Then you'll skip 4 chains and into the 5th one place a shell. And keep alternating that all the way across for row 1. Your very last stitch of row 1 should be a double crochet in your last chain. So if you want to press pause while you work your way across and come back to me when you're ready to move up to row 2, and we can do that together. I've just placed my last shell of my small sample, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 5th chain, so I know that my stitch count is correct. Into that very last chain there I'm going to place a double crochet. At the end of row 1 your work should be looking a little bit like this. To move up to row 2 you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Into this very first stitch here where our chain 1 is coming out of, we're going to place a double crochet. And then around these 5 treble crochets here we're going to place 1 front post double crochet around each of them. So drop your hook down around that post and back out the front, yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Around each of those treble crochets we're going to place 1 front post double crochet. So there's 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Then we need to chain 1, and then around each of the 5 treble crochets that make up the second half of the shell we're going to place 1 front post double crochet around each of those. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next we're going to place a front post double crochet around this post of the double crochet from row 1, and then we'll just repeat that all the way across. So I'll skip over to my next treble crochet and place a front post double crochet around that one, and 1 around the next 4 treble crochets, and then we'll chain 1, and then we'll place 1 front post double crochet around each of the remaining treble crochets for that shell. So there's 4, and here's my last one for the shell. And then I'll place a front post double crochet around the double crochet from row 1. So you'll repeat that all the way across. We'll be finishing on a regular double crochet here, in this very last double crochet of row 1, but if you want to press pause until you get up to that point and then come back to me, we can finish off row 2 and move up to row 3 together. I've just placed my last front post double crochet, and I'm going to place a regular double crochet in this very last stitch of the row. Now it's here where you want to do your colour change, so if you want to fasten off and then secure your end and then do your colour change how you prefer it, that's completely up to you. Just for this tutorial, I'm going to be carrying my yarn up as I mentioned earlier to you, so I'm going to start my double crochet, drop that colour and just add in my second one. Now remember, I would only do this method if you're planning on adding a border to your work. So to move up to row 3, you are going to chain 4. Now this chain 4 counts as a treble crochet and also a chain 1. So you're going to yarn over, pull through 4 times, 3 and 4, and turn your work. And into that same stitch there, we're going to place a treble crochet. Next, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to work our next stitch into the chain space at the top of the shell, which is furthest away from us. So insert your hook into that chain space there and place a double crochet. Next, you'll want to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work our next stitch in the double crochet from row 2, which is furthest away from us. So we're going to skip these 5 trebles here and work into the 6th stitch along, which should be your double crochet, and you're going to place a treble, 2 chains, and then back into that same stitch with another treble. So let's do that together. So we're placing a treble, chain 2, and then back into that double crochet with another treble. You're then going to chain 3 again, skip the 5 treble crochets furthest away from you, and into your next chain 1 space work a double crochet, chain 3, skip your 5 trebles from row 2 and into the double crochet, place your treble, chain 2 and a treble crochet. So a treble, chain 2, and then back into that same stitch with another treble. And you repeat that all the way across, chaining 3 and placing a double crochet in the chain 1 space at the top of your shell stitch, chaining 3, skipping the 5 treble crochets running along the back and placing a treble crochet, chaining 2 and back into that stitch with a treble crochet all the way across. And when you're coming up to the end of row 3, come back to me and we can finish that off together. I've just placed my double crochet in the last of my shells, and I'm going to chain 3, skip my 5 trebles, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and into your very last stitch you're going to be placing a treble crochet, chaining just 1 this time and going back into that same stitch and placing a second treble crochet. To move up to row 4, we need to chain 1 and turn our work. Into this very first stitch here, we're going to place a double crochet. Next, we're going to chain 1, skip our chain below and work into our next treble crochet and place another double crochet. Then you'll chain 3, 2 and 3 and place another double crochet on top of your double crochet from row 3. Chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, skip your chains and place another double crochet into the top of your treble crochet from row 3, skip your 3 chains below and work a double crochet in the top of that treble crochet in row 3, chain 2, 1, 2 and place a double crochet in the top of your next treble from the row below. And you'll do that all the way across. So next I'm going to chain 3 and place a double crochet in the double crochet from the row below, chain 3, place a double crochet in the top of my treble crochet from the row below, chain 2, skip the 2 chains below and place a double crochet in the top of the treble from the row below, and continue working that all the way across until you come to the end. When you're coming up to the end, come back to me and we can move up to row 5 together. So I'm just going to make my last chain 3 and I'm going to skip these chains like I have done for the rest of the row and place a double crochet here in my treble crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1, and then what you want to do here is you want to place your last double crochet of row 4 in the 3rd chain. So if you remember, we chained 4, so we're counting up 1, 2, 3, and it's into that 3rd one that we're placing our last double crochet. To move up to row 5, you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and turn your work. Next we're going to be working into this space here, so we're going to drop down these 2 rows and work into this space here between your chain 3 and your treble crochet, and you're going to work 5 treble crochets. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that space and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You want 5 treble crochets into that space. So there's my first one, 2, 3, 4, and back into there for the last time, placing your 5th treble crochet. Next you want to skip across, and we're going to drop back down to this row here, and where we've got the chain 1 space that we created when we made our shells, you're going to place a double crochet into that chain 1 space there. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Next we're going to skip across to this next space here between our 2 treble crochets, and we're going to place a shell there. So we're going to place 5 treble crochets, chain 1, and then 5 treble crochets all into that same space. So we're going to place 5 treble crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, and then back into that same space and place 5 more treble crochets to complete your shell. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you may just need to shuffle your trebles around a little bit just to make them all fit in, as I just pushed mine up a little bit then. Then you're going to skip across to this next chain space here in your shell below, and you're going to insert your hook into that chain 1 space and place a double crochet. Next we're going to skip across to our space here between our 2 trebles and place another shell. So it'll be 5 trebles, a chain 1 and 5 trebles. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, and then back into the same space to complete our shell. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. So you'll repeat that all the way across for row 5, placing a double crochet in your chain 1 space from your shell below, and then placing a shell between your 2 treble crochets here. Double crochet in your shell below in your first colour, and then come back to me when you get to the end of your row here, and I'll show you how we finish off this row and we can move up to row 6 together. I've just placed my last double crochet in my shell, and I'm moving across to my chain 1 space now in between these 2 stitches here. And what you want to do here is, I find it handy to just take hold of this very last stitch here so I don't lose it when I'm crocheting. So pinch that stitch there, and you're going to work 5 treble crochets into that chain 1 space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 and then back in for the last time, so that's 5. So we've got half a shell, then you chain 1 and then into this stitch that we just kept hold of so we didn't lose it, we're just going to place a regular treble crochet, yarning over, going into the top of that stitch and placing a treble crochet as usual to finish off row 5. So your work should be looking a little bit like this at the end of row 5. To move up to row 6, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. We're going to skip this treble crochet here, and starting in the first of the 5 that we did, we're going to place 1 front post double crochet around each of those. So inserting our hook, yarning over and placing a double crochet around the post of each of those 5 treble crochets from the row below. So there's 3, there's 4, and here's my 5th one. Next we're going to pop a front post double crochet around the post of the double crochet from the row below. Insert your hook around the post of that double crochet and place a front post double crochet around it. Next we're going to place a front post double crochet around each of the next 5 treble crochets. So inserting your hook around the post from the front and placing a double crochet. So there's 1, 2, there's 3, 4 and 5, which brings us to the top of our shell. So we're going to chain 1 and then place 1 front post double crochet around the post of the next 5 treble crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 and there's 5. So that brings me back to my next double crochet, and again I'm going to place a front post double crochet around that stitch, and you repeat that all the way along, placing 1 front post double crochet around each of your trebles, a chain 1 at the top, and then a front post down this side of your shell and a front post double crochet around the double crochet from the row below. When you're coming up to here on your last half a shell for this row 6, come back to me at that point, we'll finish it off and move up to row 7 together. So I've just placed my last front post double crochet around the last of my treble crochets, and what I've got left now here is my chain 4 from the row below. So what you want to do is chain 1, and we're going to place a double crochet in the 3rd chain up. So if you turn your chains to the side a little bit, you'll be able to see the chains a little bit more clearly. So you can see that we've got 4 chains there, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's into this 3rd one up here that we want to place our last double crochet. So we're skipping this one here and placing our double crochet to finish row 6 in the next chain along. So the 3rd chain from the bottom. Insert your hook into that 3rd chain and place your double crochet to finish off row 6. Now this is where you would fasten off and do your colour change, but just for this tutorial I'm just going to drop mine and finish off my double crochet in my 3rd colour. Now you feel free to use whichever method you prefer here to do your colour change and secure your work. And to move up to row 7, you are going to chain 1 and turn your work. Into this first stitch here that our chain 1 is coming out of is where we're going to place our first double crochet, and then we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip these 5 trebles here that run down the back and into our double crochet in the row below, the one that's furthest away from us. We're going to place a treble crochet, chain 2, and then go back into that double crochet and place a 2nd treble crochet. Next you're going to chain 3, 2, and 3, and into the chain space from the row below in the shell furthest away from you, you're going to place a double crochet, chain 3 again, skip your 5 trebles along the back and into your double crochet, place a treble, chain 2 and back into that double crochet and place a second treble, chain 3 and into your chain 1 space at the top of your next shell furthest away from you, place a double crochet, and you'll repeat that all the way along. When you're coming up towards the end here, if you want to come back to me at that point, and I'll show you how we finish off row 7 together. So I've just placed my last combination of treble, chain 2 and a treble. To finish off row 7, you're going to chain 3 and then you're going to place 1 double crochet into the very first chain of the row below. So you should have 1 chain here that you'll skip and place your double crochet in the very last chain. To move up to row 8, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And here what we want to do is we're going to place a double crochet in the top of this very first double crochet from the row below. Next we're going to chain 3, skip the chains below and place a double crochet in the top of this first treble crochet here. Chain 2, skip the 2 chains below and place a double crochet in the treble crochet in the row below. Chain 3, skip the chains below and place a double crochet in the double crochet in the row below. Chain 3, skip the chains and place a double crochet in the treble below. Chain 2 and then place a double in the treble in the row below, and you repeat that all the way across. So chaining 3, skip these 3 and place a double in your next double crochet, chain 3, skip these 3 and place a double here in the top of your next treble, chain 2, skip these 2 and place a double in your next treble. So meet me when you're coming towards the end of row 8 and we'll move up to row 9 together. So I've just placed my last double crochet in the top of my last treble. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3 and place my last double crochet in the top of this last double crochet here in the row below. So to move up to row 9, and row 9 is the last row in this row repeat, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. So where we're going to place our first stitch is we're going to drop down 3 rows to this row here, and we're working on the shells which are closest towards you, and in between this chain 4 at the beginning and this first treble crochet that we've got, you've got a chain 1 space. And you're going to insert your hook into that chain 1 space and place a double crochet there. So drop your hook around the front, insert your hook into your chain 1 space and place a double crochet into that space there. Next we're going to skip across to our next chain 2 space between our 2 treble crochets, and we're going to place a shell in this space here. So our shells are 5 treble crochets, chain and 5 treble crochets. So we're going to place a shell into that chain 2 space just there in between our 2 treble crochets 2 rows below. So this is my 3rd. So there's 4, 5 trebles, back into that same chain 2 space and place 5 more treble crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3. You may have to just push them over a little bit to make sure that they all fit in. There's 4 and there's 5. So there we've just created our shell. Then we're going to drop down, and in the chain space of the shell below, just here, we're going to place a double crochet. Then we're going to skip across to our next chain 2 space in between our 2 treble crochets and place another shell. So that's 5 treble crochets, a chain, and then 5 treble crochets. So there's 2, 3, 4 and 5. Chain, just going to push them over a little bit to give myself a bit more space, and then place my next 5 trebles back into that same chain 2 space. So that's 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then I'm going to move across to my next shell below, and into the chain 1 space again I'm going to place a double crochet. And you're just going to do this all the way across for row 9. So you'll be placing a double crochet in the top of your shell below in the chain 1 space, then moving across to your chain 2 space in between your 2 treble crochets and placing a shell there. Then you'll move across to your next shell here and place a double crochet in the chain 1 space right in the middle. And if you come back to me once you've worked this shell in your last chain 2 space, we can finish off the row together. I've just worked my last shell of row 9, and where we're placing our last stitches in between this treble crochet here and then our set of 5. If you remember, we did a chain 1 space, so you're inserting your hook into that chain 1 space there and placing your last double crochet of row 9. And that's the end of your row repeats. So your work will hopefully be looking something like this at the moment. I hope you've enjoyed this stitch. I have so much fun with it. Once you get going and you've done the repetition of rows 2 to 9 a couple of times, then it is easy and you'll not have to go backwards and forwards over this tutorial quite as much. Don't forget, it is all time stamped. So after this, when we've just finished row 9, you're going to go back to row 2 and repeat row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 over and over until your project reaches the height that you want it to be at. So if you've got any questions about this stitch, or there's a stitch that I've not filmed yet and you really like to learn, drop me a comment in the comment box below and I'll try my best to get that filmed for you, or any questions that you may have answered. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It just means that you won't miss out on my next free tutorial or pattern, and it really does support Rocco Baby Crochet as well. So I hope you have a lot of fun practicing this stitch, and I'd love to see how you use it over on the Facebook page. It would be lovely if you joined us over there as well and share pictures of some of your recent projects. We've got a lovely little community building and it's lots of fun getting to chat to everybody. So I hope you all have a great week. Take care. Happy hooking. Bye.